Hello and welcome to Elecspo, and it's time for part 3 of our non-league super cash experiment. In parts 1 and 2, in part 1, we gave two non-league clubs £1 billion. Blyth Spartans from the Vanarama National League North and Slough Town from the Vanarama National League South. And in the battle between the North and the South, it is Slough who have been triumphing. We did 20 years of this experiment, and within 20 years, Slough Town went all the way from the National League North to the Premier League. In 2041, they are now a solid Premier League team. I mean, yes, they're just above the relegation zone, but they're fine. They've been surviving there for a few years now. As for Blyth, they have just lost the League One playoff final, and the third tier of English football is as high as they've got. Despite getting £1 billion, they haven't been able to make it beyond League One. But will that change in part 3? That's because, as an extra Christmas treat, I am giving both Blyth and Slough Town another £1 billion. That's right, I am going to boost each team's finances back to £1 billion. No matter how much money they've spent over the first 20 years, they are back to having £1 billion in the bank. To do this, I'm going to have to go to 2042. We left things in 2041, but I'm going to have to go to 2042 because, to be honest with you, I only decided to do this whilst the simulation was already going on. So in 2042, I have done it. I have given each team another £1 billion. They'll get 10 years to do what they want with it, and how big a difference will it make? Can Blyth make it to the Premier League? Can Slough possibly win a trophy? Let's dive into the simulation and let's find out. Right, here we are, the 7th of June 2042. Let's quickly just refresh it on how the two teams did in the last season, because it's actually been 21 seasons since they got the money in the year 2021. We'll go to the Premier League first, because that's where Slough are, and they have just survived in the Premier League. They came 17th with 41 points on the board, 5 clear of Derby County, who went down. But let's look at Slough now. They are still managed by Mikel Arteta, and when we go to their finances, the club details, you can see that they've got £306 million in the bank. We'll be boosting that to £1 billion. What about Blyth? Where are they? Let's have a little look. Well, they're still going to be playing League One football because they have just finished 7th in the third tier. They didn't even make it into the playoffs. They were pretty close, but alas they missed out, and alas it is another season in League One. But as if by magic, both teams now have £1 billion on the bank. In the bank rather. When we go to the club details, you can see there £1 billion for Slough Town, and it's the same for Blyth as well. They too have got £1 billion in the bank and a transfer budget of 200 million. Obviously the owners can do what they want with the transfer budget. It's, you know, it's theirs to spend, but both clubs have £1 billion. It's going to be better for Slough because they're already in the Premier League, already attracting big names, but for Blyth perhaps it might push them to make it beyond League One. They kind of seem to have gone as far as they can, but maybe that'll change now they've had another influx of cash. I'm going to simulate 5 years into the future, 2047. Let's see what's going on 5 more years into the future. Can Blyth make it past League One? Let's find out. Let's see if they can join Slough in the Premier League. Okay, here we are, the 18th of June 2047. Let's head straight to the Premier League. Will Slough be there, and will Blyth be joining them? Well, Slough are there, but there is no Blyth in the Premier League. But good on Slough, because they are now a top half team in the top flight of English football. They have came 7th with 59 points, 3 behind Spurs, just missing out on European football. They've got one of the top scorers in the League Two, Stuart Stannard, there with 19 goals. Let's have a little look at him briefly. 29-year-old English striker arrived for 35.5 million quid in 2042 by the looks of things, and he's been wonderful for Slough Town. One of the first signings probably with the new money, and in every season he has hit double figures. Let's have a little look at Slough and see how they've been getting on over the past 5 years. They are no longer managed by Mikel Arteta. Instead, Daniel Maldini is calling the shots. Let's have a little look at what happened to Arteta. He would resign on the 30th of July 2042 After more than 10 years in charge, he would leave, and he was replaced by Xavi, another big name, another big time Spaniard coming to Slough. Xavi was there for 3 years. He left, resigned on the 22nd of November 2045, and now it's the Italian Daniel Maldini. But where have Slough been coming over the past 5 years? Well, the last time we looked, they came 17th, then they came 12th. They got as high as 5th in 2044, qualifying for Europe. Season after that, 12th, then it was 13th in 2046, and now 7th in 2047. I'm going to have a little look at the schedule because I want to see how they got on in Europe. They were in a Europa League group with Hammarby, Celtic and RB Leipzig, which was pretty difficult, and they made it through. They made it through the first knockout round, where sadly they were beaten by Porto 2-1. But there was almost more joy for Slough as they were beaten in the 2042 FA Cup final. So they have came within a whisker of a major trophy. Let's check the landmarks out. Let's see what's been going on. Well, the owner has scaled back funding, which is a little bit disappointing. The stadium capacity's gone up to just shy of 32,000. The youth category is category 1. And now let's have a look at the transfers. Let's see what money's been spent. And to be quite honest with you, it's a crazy amount of money that they've been spending. In the most recent season, their biggest spend yet, £261 million. Their biggest signing, £43 million there on Rodrigo Arrieta. The season before that, they only spent $40 million, not quite as much. As you can see, still spending big money there. £122 million spent in 43-44. Even got a player called Pat Pickering, which is... it's just quite a funny name, isn't it? 123 million there in 2042-43. That was the season over the new investment. And it has taken Slough to the top half of the Premier League and as far as European football. And we've still got another 5 years to go. But will they ever be joined by Blyth Spartans? Let's find out where they are. They are still not in the Premier League. But if we go down to the Championship, you will notice in 16th place that finally Blyth Spartans have made it to the second tier of English football. They came 16th with 53 points on the board. Is this their highest position yet? Or have they done even better over the past 5 years? Well, Croft Park's increased in capacity. 6,652 fans. I mean, it's still not massive. But they haven't actually been able to make it up to the Premier League. This was in fact their first season in the Championship. Since they got their new influx of cash, they've risen up the table. They came 9th, 5th, then they won the title in 2046 and they've just finished 16th in the Championship. But there's an issue. They're under transfer embargo due to breach of financial fair play regulations. So for all the money they've got, they cannot really do anything with it. Let's have a look at their transfer history, see if they've actually... let's see what kind of money they have been spending. Christ, they have... actually, no, they still haven't spent that much money, you know. This surely can't be fair. Poor Blyth, they've got all this money to their name, and they're not being allowed to spend it. They need to get to the Premier League, where they will finally be allowed to spend some money. In the most recent season there, £22.5 million spent, their biggest spent to date in the Championship, and still they find themselves with a transfer embargo. Things still not going great for Blyth Spartans. That could be an issue for them in the coming years. Let's see who the managers have been. Let's have a little look. So they've had a couple since we left. Jamie Sion was sacked, then Adam Barrett was sacked. Octavian Popescu, that's a fantastic name, he left. And now it is Adam Hlozek, the Czech. I believe he's Czech. I'll quickly check. He's Czech. He's 44 years old and he's previously managed Southampton, Brighton and Millwall. So that's nice, isn't it? But not nice enough, because Blyth are 16th in the Championship and once again have breached financial fair play. It almost doesn't seem fair that they're suffering so much while Slough are absolutely flying. But we've got 5 more years of this experiment. Can Blyth make it out of the Championship? Can they get over their financial limitations? I don't know what the right word is. Implications? Problems? Not quite problems. They've got loads of money. They're just not allowed to spend it. Can they do better? And can Slough possibly even make it into the top 4 and into the Champions League? Let's go 5 more years into the future, let's find out. Okay, here we are, the 16th of June 2052, let's go straight to the Premier League. Are our two non-league adventurers in the top flight of English football? They are not. But Slough still are, and they have came 5th in the top flight, narrowly missing out on Champions League football. They were 2 points behind Man United and Liverpool, finishing 5th to qualify for the Europa League. Golden Boot winner there, Stuart Standard, we looked at him earlier. And Slough are the 5th best team in English football. They're managed by John Terry of all people in 2052. He replaced Daniel Maldini, who resigned. Still not a single manager has been sacked during this simulation by Slough. Let's have a look at how they've done over the past 5 years. When we last looked, they came 7th in 2047, then it was 10th, 11th, 13th in 2050, back in the top half in 2051, and now John Terry, with a reputation of 4.5 stars, which is pretty good, has got Slough 5th place in the Premier League. Have they won any cup competitions? No, still haven't won a trophy, but that's okay. What about the transfers? What kind of money has been spent? Christ, a lot of money, I'll tell you that. £225 million in the most recent season. Before that, 108 million. And we still haven't got the biggest spend. I mean, there was only 75 million there. 2048-49 was a quiet year. And 2047-48, 136 million pound. But the biggest spend still the season before that, 293 million pounds spent between 1st of July 2046 and the 9th of June 2047. But for all this money, it still hasn't done... I mean, it has done wonders for Slough. They haven't improved the stadium anymore, but they have improved the youth and training facilities. Yes, it's incredible they've made it into Europe, but they still haven't won a trophy, and they still haven't made it into the Champions League. But it just shows how long it takes to make a splash. Even with all this money you've got, it's not easy just to break into the top 4. I mean, Newcastle fans, if you think you're going to be qualifying for the Champions League in the next few years, you've got another thing coming. Then again, this is for a set of fans who were buzzing to get the windows cleaned. So I mean, I don't think expectations are that high. In the Championship, please say Blyth there. I really hope they've made it into the Premier League at some point. Surely they have to have. Well, they've been beaten in the playoff final. They've lost 2-1 to Brighton after finishing 6th on 79 points. Let's have a little look at the Spartans, managed by Johnny Batten, who is a regen. They've also had Owen Harvey as manager. To be fair, actually, Blyth, they haven't sacked their last 3 managers, which is a little bit of progress. Have they been in the Premier League? No, they haven't. They still haven't made it to the Premier League. 18th in 2048 in the Championship, they got as high as 10th in 2049, 14th in 2050, 15th in 2051, and they finally made it to the playoffs in 2052, where they still lost, losing in the final 2-1 to Brighton and Hove Albion. Have they had more financial problems? It doesn't look like they have. Failed to comply with financial fair play in 2047. No mention of it since then. The stadium capacity has been increased twice, and the youth category has gone up to category 2. We've also had the youth and training ground facilities upgraded. So some improvements on the infrastructure at Blyth. What kind of money have they been spending in the transfer market? Let's have a little look. Well, finally they've started spending a bit of money. Now they're in the Championship, they've been a little bit more freedom. 23 million there. It looks like their biggest spend was this season here, which was just shy of 40 million. There it is there, 39 million pounds spent. The biggest signing, Joe Gallagher from Plymouth, for just over 15 million pounds. They're forking out big wages too. Leon Cross, the highest earner, on 97,000 pounds. But still they are unable to make it to the Premier League. 31 years and £2 billion, and Blyth Spartans, the best they can do is a championship playoff final defeat. As for Slough Town, things have been much better. They've finished 5th in the Premier League twice, they've been qualifying for Europe, and they even came runners up in the FA Cup. But after 31 years, £4 billion split between two clubs, only one of them made it to the Premier League, and neither of them won a major trophy. It just proves it, guys, money can't buy you happiness. But I think if I was a Slough fan or a Blyth fan, I'd rather this than the actual reality. But on that note, we will leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Elecspo. And until next time, we will see you around.